I changed my life by reading books, and here's how you can do it too. I've read a lot of books in the past 5 to 8 years, and it's all related to various of topics, whether that be in relationships, more likely it is self-help books, finance, and psychology. And really, it did change my life, and I promise, I'm going to show you right now how you can make books actually change your life to become better. And the way that I'm going to do it, I'm going to give you 3 steps. I'm going to give you the stories, and also I'm going to give you the lessons, and most importantly, I'm going to also share the secrets that I have. So the 3 steps will be so smooth. All right, so reading books can be tricky. I realized that when I started reading my self-help books, which was Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I really loved it. I felt like I had some sort of revelations, and my imagination is just coming to work. But that's really what is reading books looks like for everyone. And it doesn't have that difference between being a male and female, because I remember we had like a big group. I remember in high school, everyone was reading books. Obviously there's differences between, let's say, poetry or fiction or whatever, and also reading self-help books or finance or psychology or whatever. Now, the first time that I felt the impact of a book was with Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It shows me like what is the power of thinking and how actually thinking makes so big of a difference. For me, it was interesting, and I said, wow, this is really what I want to be doing. I want to be reading books all the time, you know what I mean? It's like, I wanted to read books all the time because I realized that it just gives me an insane ROI, return on investment of my time. And also, it doesn't take a lot. It doesn't take a lot of energy to read a book. So really, like, it's almost no consuming energy. Look, I realize that it takes energy from your brain, because our brain like literally uses the most of our energy. It just consumes a lot. But the thing is, like, yeah, such as everyone else. So like school, college, whatever, your brain will be used. So you might as well just read a book that will help you. At least that's how I see it. So I was reading the book, and I was thinking about all the stuff that I can implement in my life from that book. And that's what I did. So here I'm going to give you the stages that I went through. This was the first one. It was actually just reading, getting all the hype. I went like through three books or something like that. But I figured out I always was comparing myself to others. So if there is a content creator that's talking about books, I'm always comparing myself to him. He's like, well, I read book every day. I read 1,300 pages every day. And I say, dude, like, that's not really realistic, you know? And for me, I say myself, my best day, I read like 35 pages. It's just like the first day that I read the book. So those comparisons that I did at the time, this is like way back then, okay? I remember that it was the comparisons that actually pulled me down. But for me, I knew that I don't give a fuck. Like, sure, they can do whatever they want. And also the thing is, I can do whatever I want too. So I might as well just read the book. And if it takes me 3 years, like, so fucking be it. So here I got to the next page, which is I read more books. So I went from Think and Grow Rich to reading books like The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. I read Who Moved My Cheese. I also moved to some other books. I also got the resume of some books. Like if someone is reading a book, I don't read it. I just asked him about what is he learning. Meanwhile, like, while is he reading? Because I realized that if I just stayed until he's done, he usually just gave me what he uses. I don't want that. I want what I can use. So it might as well. Like if my best friend reading a book, I'm gonna read another one. It's kind of like we go through this crisscross that we do. I get the most of it. He gets the most of it, and it's kind of like a win-win. Next, I realized that the biggest thing that I can actually learn about is habits. Spoiler alert, now I just don't give a fuck about that shit. But then I realized that, making habits is actually just as important as everything else. Like, I realized that it all comes down to habits, and like the habits are literally what build or break a person. I think I just was talking to like my colleagues about a few days ago, like 2 days ago. We just finished an exam, and we were talking about the books that we read. And one colleague just got so excited. He's a little bit younger than me. He gets so excited about habits books. He said, I told him like I have the physical copy, and he said, dude, can you please borrow me the book and stuff like that? I really love that. Like, sure, of course I'm gonna do it. I don't give a fuck about it anyway. But like, sure, of course I'm gonna borrow it. Love when people like love to learn about stuff, especially when it comes to self-help books. But the thing is, I said, look, I really like, at the time I felt like the book was really good, but now I just don't give a fuck about it. The book is the 7 habits of the highly most effective people, and also like atomic habits and all of those. I really just don't give a fuck because I don't have a problem. Like, that was my problem like 4 or 5 years ago, probably, like, you know. So it's not my problem anymore. Like, I want to add a habit, to just add it. I want to get something off. I just decide, and it just gone. But I know that I had to go through that process, which is why I respect everyone, and that's why I'm going through the phases, so like everybody gets what he has to actually learn from. So I think the most important like thing that I learned from that is habits get built by time. So like if you want to do something, it usually gets introduced. Let's say you want to play sport, it gets introduced. I think the better way to do it is be committed and say like different. It's like, instead of saying I'm gonna do sports to get 6-pack, say I'm gonna do 6-pack training 100 times this year. And it's just easy. Like, you don't need to build a habit around it. You just do it. And you go like, okay, I'm at 25, or I'm 37, or I'm 42. Oh, damn, I'm 45, dude. Why is it so slow? And you gotta like go through it until you get to 100. And his thing is, okay, you can find hacks. It's like 1 week you do you do like 50. You understand? But the thing is, like, this is what makes it better. Like, instead of just building a habit like a dumbass, and you're like, okay, today I'm gonna go to the gym and train abs. It's like, nah, you shouldn't do that. Okay, but whatever. But I get it. I'm pretty sure that now I understand like the essence of the books, that I don't need to read them. Alright, so moving on. This is not me trash talking, by the way. This is me loving the books. I just realized that, well, when you read a book, sometimes just get over it, dude. Yeah. Okay, so now I went from that phase to also another phase, which is not reading books. Also went to another phase, which is reading books again. I read like books like The 7 Highly Effective People, etc. Went into another phase, which is not reading books, and also went back. I read books like The Way of the Superior Man. Don't recommend it. Also read the book of the Transurfing Reality. Both books are actually recommended by Iman Gadzi, who's a content creator that talks about finance and stuff. And he said, sure. I just watched this clip. These books are awesome. I said, look, sure, I'm going to read them. Transurfing Reality is a book that I think should be read by billionaires or something. It's like, yeah, don't read it. The Way the Superior Man has one good idea that I think for me, like, got used to it, which is men and women are different, duh. And women like to be heard, duh. Sounds like that's it. I was like, if a woman said no, probably she doesn't mean no, she's just mad at you. Really, that's it. Like, an entire book. I wasted so much time on that. I think those 2 books didn't really help me. And it's not the books that I needed at the time. So I went into another period, not reading books, and then went and never stopped until now. So now what got me to go through on and off? Here I'm going to go through the biggest of arguments. Should you even start reading books? So yeah, it's a real fact. So I wasn't reading books. I did my statistics. I analyzed 30 months of my life, which is about 3 years. Roughly 3 years. Less than 3 years, actually, but whatever. It's like, it was, now it's 3 years, but you get the point. It's like 3 years. So 3 years of my life, like since 2021, January 2021. So there's a huge period. And it was analyzing, and I realized that, dude, it's really, when I read books, I get better version of myself. I really get closer. Like, let's say there's a scale, like from scale to 1 to 10. The best version of myself is a 10 and the worst is 0. Like, I get closer to that 10 when I read books. Doesn't have to necessarily be 10. It's just closer. And whenever I read books, I realize that I just always get closer to the 10. Always, when I don't, obviously it doesn't, but like when I do, always, like there's no time when I was actually reading books and I was not going through the best version of myself. And I said, there is probably nothing that can give me the same. Like there's few things, but there is nothing that can give me the same ROI, return on investment. Of course, I'm going to read books, and then I never stopped. I think the trick about books is finding the book that you need at the stage that you're in. That's why I'm talking about like stages, because there is stages when you don't need the way the superior man transurfing reality. If you're a billionaire, sure. Like if you're not, just don't read them. For me, in my opinion. But there's also other books, like as an example, for me at that time, like 5-6 years ago, of course thinking Rich Dad Poor Dad was awesome for me. Atomic Habits and those books like were awesome. But now I don't think I would not go back and read them again. And also now I have also these other books, right? I'm reading the 4-Hour Work Week, the stuff like that, which is like I'm going on me, not on others. And also like I'm not afraid of starting a new book. So, and even like I'm reading the book, I don't like it, I can just stop, which doesn't happen very often. It's like if you like the book, it's a good or not. Okay. Now I would love to speak also about like books that I think are very interesting. So one of the I think Think and Grow Rich is one of the most important books to read in terms of ROI. This book literally gave me revelations, dude. I told you I feel like heaven when reading books. I felt like I am in the deepest way of heaven when I'm reading this book. It's like I get high when I read this book, you know. I read it twice. It's one of the books. It's the only book that I read twice in a month. And it's not. I was so astonished by the amount of information it got, and it's sort of like it has so much information, but at the same time doesn't give you so much information overload. But still, you have to reread it again because there's just so much thing. Like there's no way you can remember all of that first time. I remember most of it, but I had to go back to understand some chapters more because I realized I have them in my life and I don't know what to do. And I realized that I have to go back, revisit those chapters because those are the ones that I'm dealing with right now. I think books also like The Richest Man in Babylon. I thought they will never read such book. I said like, look, it's those fantasy fictions, like that's shit, not for me. But, you know, stop being a dumbass and just go fucking read it. It's awesome. It talks about finances in a very interesting way. It gives it to you as a story. The storytelling is absurd, by the way. And also it gives it to you in interesting ways when even the story is unrealistic 100%, but it feels realistic. And at the same time, you sort of understand how it really applies to your life. It talks about slavery, and I feel like I really understand what they're talking about. We're talking about slavery ended like hundreds of years ago, but still, at least 100 years ago it ended. But we're talking like, I understand what he's talking about because he gives you like the principles, but not strong. It's like, you know, when you study in college, you study about subjects. There's those subjects that you know, it's just the subject itself. There's nothing you can learn from it. And this is the opposite of that. Is you're going to read something about slavery. It teaches you about you yourself. I was reading and I'm like, oh, I am in the same situation as this slave that he's talking about. Okay, he did this. Of course I'm going to do that too. That's what I did. But the thing is, like, I really, like, you see how now I'm immersed in the books that I speak about? And this is why I say it's about phases. You see, now I am immersed in the book. I can literally discuss what's happening in the book because I think it's just that important. I'm gonna give also like few books. This Elon Musk biography was awesome. It was actually recommended by a friend who's Adam Asta. He just hit 25,000 subscribers. He's so happy that he did that. You know, and he really like recommended me the book. And it was like, okay, dude, of course I'm going to fucking read it. You know what I mean? And I actually read it like in 1 week later. I was like, I'm done. It's like, But yeah, actually, the book, I didn't finish it, being honest. I stopped like 700 pages or so because like at that point it was unrelatable. It's like Elon Musk has now billions and billions of dollars, and he's going through some shit. Don't get so much value from this as an example in comparison in his early stages when he was in college, when he was doing the stuff that he was doing. It's like, sure, that's something I can learn and apply immediately. But like, if I'm talking about now, he has billions of dollars and firing people. It's something that I can get an idea about, but really don't get the main like 100% benefit from it. Which is like one of the first books that I didn't finish this year is Elon Musk. But I'm pretty sure like I will go back, I'll go back because his mentality is contagious even from reading his book. I realized that when I was reading his book, I realized that I was more drawn into conflicts. So Elon Musk has this thing when he's very like going through all conflicts and stuff. And that drama, dude, I just started it. Like, I literally started the drama, overthrowing the responsible of the class in my college class. It didn't work, but I just loved it because it was like me learning from the book and actually applying it to real life. Obviously, there's no circumstances. Like, I want to become the responsible of the class, and I think that the responsible is not good. It's like, there's nothing wrong with that. And it had so much drama, dude. There was like 50 people coming at me. But I realized, I said, look, if Elon Musk does this with PayPal, like, of course I'm going to do it with my classroom. It's like, nobody gives a fuck. But like, this is what I love more about the books, is the stuff that you can actually apply. And this is what you see Elon Musk when he was young. He was reading a lot of volume of books. So instead of reading one book a year, he was reading one book a day. It means even if the book is shit, he just gets the value and shows like one day, so be it, dude. Next day he has another thing. Yeah, I think this is what it is. Even now, I think that even like, let's say a book that's not good, I'm always going through the stuff. So it doesn't really matter. So, earlier when I said like Transforming Reality and The Way of the Superior Man, the reason why those books I don't recommend because they were not suited to me. But the thing is, because I didn't also read a lot of volume. 2 books, it's nothing. Like, being honest, like 2 books a year or whatever, it's nothing. So you want to go through volume and you want to just do it like on a daily basis, read. And if you have iPhone, like you have that books, also like it is in Android, so any phone really, you have those books and usually they have those milestones, like 5 minutes of reading, they give you a milestone. That's awesome. Or for me, I found out that some books don't count, but still, it's awesome. I just look at the timer, I have 5 minutes, 20 minutes, sometimes I do more. And it's awesome. If I don't do it, I don't give a fuck. Right, I have a fucking life to do, but also like I have to do it. I usually do it all the time. Like I was reading it right now in class. In the break, we had almost half an hour. So I went to the toilet, came back. Everybody was on break. It was just me and the teacher. I pulled out the book on my phone and I was reading. So I'm using the time of the break to really just do something that, based on statistics that I just told you, literally makes me closer to the best version of myself. It's heaven in the break. All right, this is awesome. Now, I tried to go like cover through different things. I think one thing that I can add here is general knowledge books. I just saw a book here. It's called Highlighted in Yellow. It's an awesome book, but really for me, I would never read it again. I just opened it like few days ago, and I found out it talks about all different topics that I just don't give a fuck. Like it gives you general knowledge, but it's more like it's suited for kids. Kids should learn general knowledge. Like if you're an adult, you don't need general knowledge. You just need the opposite. You need specified knowledge. Like if there is a book about something specific that it's your industry or your career, that's the type of book that you love to read. But when it comes to general knowledge, it's like, I don't know what's the book. It's like 100 quotes about life. Like, yeah, that's something that doesn't help me. Like, it's also like if you go back and like the woman is angry, or like if a woman asks you about her color of dress, just say pick one. Just never shut up. She will love you and you will thank her later. That's bullshit. It's like, of course I should. But like, it doesn't make sense to make an entire book about quote. But I also understand that people are different and also the different stages, as I told you earlier. Like if there is a kid, of course I'm going to give him a book like that. But if there is someone who's an adult, I will be drawn more into specified knowledge. So if he has, let's say, a career in whatever really in life, I'm gonna give him more of that than just to give him some bullshit. And really, like, because we talked about Elon Musk does the same thing right now. He literally reads specified knowledge books. Even when he started SpaceX, people have that story when he actually was reading books on his airplane when he decided to build his own rocket. That was specified knowledge. It's not just some bullshit about quotes in life. It's just specified knowledge about rocket science and physics and stuff like that. And also I've really found it myself. It's like, yeah, when you're around, sure. But you get, like, you're an adult, just stop doing that shit. Get back. Go do some specified knowledge, because that's what gives you the highest ROI, return on investment. Because if you're fucking good at one thing, of course you're fucking valuable. If you're good at everything, you're not worth shit. You see? But, you know, also, like, if you're a kid, you get that general knowledge, so it also, like, help you, even if you're an adult, with starting the conversation. You know, so it's more or less, whatever you want to do it. So I think this is awesome. Like, actually, talking about books that I love is awesome. Reading books is awesome. The experience and also the return on investment that you get from it is awesome. So now, as I told you, as I promised, now you are able to read whatever books you are, start reading books, or just continue reading books the right way, and focusing on volume or something else. And also, like, understanding, like, really, like, from this video alone, you are able to start reading books and continue reading books without the need of any external intervention. And what you've seen here, you can never unsee it, so I might as well subscribe. Doesn't that make any sense for you?